Well, good morning, guys. It's Pastor Andy. I want to thank you for joining me for devotions today. We're continuing our study in Matthew 5, the Sermon on the Mount, and we're going to be starting in verse 21, Matthew 5:21. You have heard that our ancestors were told, "You must not murder. If you commit murder, you are subject to judgment." But I say, if you are even angry with someone, you are subject to judgment. If you call someone an idiot, you're in danger of being brought before the court. And if you curse someone, you're in danger of the fires of hell. So if you are presenting a sacrifice at the altar in the temple, and you suddenly remember that someone has something against you, leave your sacrifice there at the altar. Go and be reconciled to that person, then come and offer your sacrifice to God. When you are on your way to court with your adversary, settle your differences quickly. Otherwise, your accuser may hand you over to the judge, who will hand you over to an officer, and you'll be thrown into prison. And if that happens, you surely won't be free again until you have paid the last penny. Jesus teaches about anger here. Let me ask you a question. And this is a question I have an ulterior motive for asking, and it's something, a news article that I had just read this week. Here it is. Should a blind person be allowed to carry a loaded weapon? This was a news article that I read, and I thought, wow, that's a great question. Should someone be allowed? And this was actually written about a 2013 court battle that happened over a blind person carrying a concealed weapon. And so the whole article was, should a blind person be allowed to carry a loaded gun? And that's a good question for us. It makes you stop and think. Sometimes there's a gap between legal sense and common sense. And sometimes we need to apply common sense to things. Well, can I tell you the same is true with anger? Anger, there's a case for righteous anger, yes. And most people will use the illustration of Jesus with the money changers flipping over the tables and whipping them and kicking them out of the sanctuary or the temple and all of these things. But here's the problem. You aren't Jesus, and neither am I. And since Jesus did it, shouldn't we be able to do it? Well, again, I'm not Jesus, and neither are you. In the right hands, with the right training, and from the right heart, anger can be used righteously. But most of the time, can I tell you, anger is a destructive force. I trust Jesus to use anger righteously, but you're not Jesus and neither am I. And I don't trust me to handle anger the right way. And honestly, you shouldn't trust yourself to handle anger the right way either. There's too many times where anger misfires and we hurt people. And we do things and we say things that we wish we could take back down the road. It's a destructive and a dangerous force in the wrong hands. So it leads me to ask you the question, have you allowed anger in your heart? Have you allowed anger to get in there and fester inside of you and build up and ferment into something? Have you allowed anger in your heart? And the second question is, are you willing to release it? Are you willing to give that anger to the only one who can be trusted to see all things clearly? So, with all of this, do you want to be the blind man with a full automatic AK, or do you want to just let go of your anger? Because we think we can do it and we can control it and we can be like Jesus. But it's like putting a weapon in the hands of a person who shouldn't have it. We can't tell most of the time that we are too impaired to be able to handle a weapon. We should turn it over to God. We should let our anger go. Anger doesn't win anything. It doesn't help. It doesn't do anything positive in our life. It leads to bitterness. And bitterness is like drinking poison and hoping the other person dies. The only person that it hurts is the person who's holding it. So let's let go of our anger. Don't be the blind man wielding a sword around trying to just blindly deal out justice. Let's allow God to do that. Let's allow Him to be the one who holds anger, because He's the only one who can see clearly enough to deal it out in the way that should be dealt with. I hope you get into God's Word and read it for yourself. And until tomorrow, God bless you and have a great day.